Welcome to another Q&A. You're going to find this one very exciting. It is the unboxing of Ultralight. Look at that. That's a tiny box, all right, for a brush. Let's have a look. What is inside?
Ew, what's that?
A little toolkit.
All right.
Some scrubbies.
Scrubbies.
Yeah, they're like baby scrubs.
Nice.
And
How many scrubbies you get there?
10.
Ew, nice.
Yeah. And again, all the Reach It brushes come in a reusable PET box so that you can protect your brush. So don't throw that away, right? You don't want one-time use plastic, you want multiple time use plastic. So that is there for that reason.
So
Make
what's,
sure
the,
that you can
what's
protect.
the carton there?
Cardboard is just to
Cardboard.
protect it in transit, right?
Okay.
Yeah, so it's in the box. So there it is. 6 ounces without because everybody weighs their brushes without the gooseneck on it, without the angle adapter. So this one is 6 ounces or 170 grams for the Ultralight.
Nice. And that's
All right.
how big?
It is, this one's a 14-inch. And then we have in production right now in April 1st, it should be ready.
2022.
2022, good on you, the 18-inch. And we also have in production the baby.
What's that for?
That's for French panes and cut-ups.
All right.
Yeah. So that's a prototype brush for us. We've got those out in the field at the moment being tested on French panes. See how well it goes.
Stay tuned.
Stay tuned. All right, so let's talk about, so again, somebody might be watching this video, have not watched the other videos. So we're going to start at where it fits the pole, and we'll end up at the bristles and the agitation, and we'll have some applications why you would buy this one over any other brush. So you could fast forward a little bit through until you see me pointing at some other part.
Yeah, because we also make for every brush, we've done radial and radial rocker you can check out. So we also talk about the pivot and all these kind of things.
Yeah, we go through everything. So if somebody just gets the link to this, they can see everything about this brush. So this brush was originally designed, well, there's a couple of applications why we designed this brush. Firstly was the UK, Europe market where light is important. So we thought, okay, we need to make a light brush. Then we realized with the work of Larry Crook in America, Connecticut, and Eric Gilliland in New Zealand, worked maybe over a long period of time where we had prototypes of this brush where it was very nimble and very crazy, like crazy. Because it's crazy light on the pole, so it's easy to work. And Eric basically uses, this size brush as his go-to brush on pretty much all his work.
How light?
Yes.
What's the weight of it?
6 ounces, 170 grams.
Ooh,
Tiny,
very light.
Crazy light.
Right? So light it's almost weightless.
Yes. Okay, so and then as a byproduct of that was originally because it was going to be an all bristle brush, and then we came up with the idea of putting a white non-scratch pad in the middle so we get more agitation, and it's a different agitation. So we would call this a hybrid agitation brush, right? And we also have in production the Magic Eraser scrub for this brush, so that'll give you one scraping type agitation in the white non-scratch pad, and it'll give you a grabbing type agitation with a Magic Eraser, because definitely some things come off better with Magic Eraser than they do with a rough agitation, okay? So let's go to the beginning. The beginning is a stem which goes into your pole. So the stem that I'm showing you is the Reach It stem. There's an anti-lock notch there which goes into the clamp slot, and that stops the brush from spinning on the pole.
No rotation.
No rotation. However, if you have a tapered thread, so if your thread is tapered like that, then that would be an Unger Euro style thread pole tip. And you can order online with the Unger Euro thread female that will screw onto the pole tip of an Unger style pole tip. That's the industry standard. If you have a Gardner or a Tucker, then you would open the lever here. This part you would have from your angle adapter from the Tucker Gardner. These teeth here and the lever are fully compatible with Tucker and Gardner. So you would leave this part with your pole and you would swap the brush out. So you basically disassemble it by undoing the lever, and then you reassemble, and then once you've done that, you can close it off and it'll work perfectly. Now these angle adapters or goosenecks, they all have negative angle. So that means that you can operate the brush. You can operate the brush below the waist so that the pole is coming up here and the jets are still on top. So you're working down, and that's really important to make sure that your rinse is working the way the brush is designed. Okay, so negative angle is a big plus for efficiency. All right, then we go to the swivel. So most of the swivels in the industry are just plastic on plastic, and they wear out really quickly, and then you get this sloppiness, which makes it, you don't get that assurance that you've got precision and accuracy. So what we designed was a stainless steel and brass bush pivot function in here, so it's not going to wear down. It'll definitely last the life of the brush, if not longer. So that gives you a lot of scope. And in the toolkit, oh, I've got this down pat, Martin.
Yeah.
In the little toolkit that we send you, you'll find this 6 hex wrench. And the reason we give you this is because some guys like the brush firm, and some guys like the brush loose. Loosey-goosey, right?
Loosey-goosey,
So
yes.
you can set, with the bolt at the bottom, you can actually set the tension of the angle adapter as you like it, right? Everybody has their own style for that. Then we want to talk about the water coming in. So you'll see here that I have an 8/8 or a 5/16 push fit. So if I have 5/16 tube, you would get a low flow version of the radial ultralight. We'll go back to that later. And then they're not the easiest things to take off because they've got stainless steel teeth on brass. However, in your little toolkit, you'll also find a 10/8, right? So if you're running high flow tube, like a 3/8 inch tube, 10 millimeter tube, then you would use this adapter on here, and then you can connect your high flow. If you're running 5/16, you would use this adapter on here, and you would be running Rhino tube or any 5/16 tube from the industry standard. This 5/16 tube is really for pencil jets. That's what it was originally designed for, and it's been carried over into rinse bars, but it can't feed. It loses too much flow rate through the cumulative effect of the wall friction of a thin tube, if you want to get all geeky about it.
Also,
Now,
there's a little bit of a...
yeah,
Ooh, you got it.
you know.
got it, you know.
So in here,
In what? In
the brass
the brass?
is, ta-da,
Ooh, that's so small. My camera can't catch it. I will show you some
see.
B-roll of that.
yeah,
That's a filter, right?
that's a filter. So this is a debris filter, and we give you a spare one in the pack, right? So there's a spec in case you ever lose it, right? You just drop it and you can't find it. Just go back to your Ziploc bag and get another one. The intention of this is the same as the other radial brushes, is that we want to catch any debris that gets into your pure water flow so that you don't block your jets. The pure water will not have debris in it. What happens is that the guy dragging the hose on the ground, he gets some dust or grit into the hose or onto the hose connection, and then it goes into the water flow, and potentially it can block the jets. Now these jets are not unblockable, so this little filter should never be removed. Any debris that is going to get caught will get caught there, and then you put your, I better put this back together the way we sell it. You put the push fit back on here, and then it's locked in there. Yep. So that's a really cool thing. We actually give a pin. We give you a little pin to unblock the jets, but I can tell you it's not easy. It's probably a replace the jets job if you really get some debris in there, because there's nowhere for the debris to go. The only thing you could do is disturb it, and hopefully it'll come out under big pressure or something like that. So maximum flow rate, really close to the spigot or close to your pump, maximum flow rate, poke, 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 see if you can break it up. But hopefully that doesn't happen because you've got the debris filter in there. Okay? Once the water's come into the brush, it's then going to go onto the 2 jets from a T. So it's quite different to the radial and the rocker design. And these will also have that fan-shaped jet streams. But there's also, because you can see there's a gap here, we also point the water across this gap, so you've got really good coverage from the jets. The water then hits the glass, comes down, onto the bristles, and then on the downstroke, you'll find that because these bristles don't let water through, on the downstroke, you'll find that the water sits on top of the brush, and then you slightly angle the brush towards the frame, and then all of that water that's coming out, 1.5 liters per minute or 2 liters per minute, whichever model you choose, that water will all be flushing down the side, which is very important as far as cleaning the corners, right? So we'll cover that too.
We also have a nice block and some end caps there.
Yes. So the block is aluminum. Everything's slidably engaged inside the block. The bristles are, and the end caps, I'll cover those now. These end caps are first generation end caps, which basically have still got the rounded corner. We went to a sharper, squarer corner, and we've gone away from that. We don't think it's as effective, and it's more prone to catch on, especially in the UK, New Zealand, Australia. A lot of the window frames are brick, and depending on the country that you're in, depends on the amount of mortar between the bricks. So in the countries that use 1/2 inch of mortar, right, then the little pointy bit was kind of catching in it. So we went back to round. And then maybe end of April this year, 2022, we will have polyurethane end caps coming out of the mold. So we'll be able to put a softer, impact resistant type end cap. So basically we think if you drop a pole from 25 feet and you drop it on the ground, it's quite likely that this end cap will actually shatter, but the next generation should not. The intention of the end cap is really to protect the frames, right? There's no function to the end caps from the brush's perspective, right? They're just really to protect the frames. For the dual or hybrid agitation, dual style of agitation, we have the bristles. Now these bristles, if you have a look at the profile, if I grab something like a radial brush, and then I grab something like a light, and then I grab the ultralight, you'll see how we've lowered the profile. How's that, Martin? We've lowered the profile of the brush from, maybe 2 inches to 1.5 inches to 1 inch.
Yeah, I can see it, definitely.
Yeah? So again, what we're trying to do is make sure that you get a different brush for different purposes, right? I'll put that down there. So you want to have a brush that when you buy the brush, it does things that the other brushes don't do. So it's nimble and light and all that, so you can flick it around the place. That's all cool. But in addition to that, you want to be able to get, for example, you'll see some architecture where you're on a second-story balcony. There's a concrete pad, let's say, that is jutting out, forming the balcony, and then they put a glass balustrade on the end of the balcony, and they put a spacer, like all sorts of thin spacers, so the glass balustrade is bolted to the slab, the balcony slab. So then what happens is then the glass then goes down, the slab is here, the glass is here, right? The slab is like this thick and the glass is like that. So then there's a gap down here where you want to clean the glass, but you can't get a normal brush down there. So that's one of the benefits of ultralight. It can get into the tiny little gaps. Sometimes you'll see architecture where they put sun deflecting or shade rails, and then they mount them like, 1.5 inches from the glass and stuff like that. So, you can get the ultralight in, turn it sideways, go up and down, turn it sideways, come out, go in, turn it up and down like that. So again, it's another application where ultralight can do what other brushes in the radial range cannot do. So the bristles we use are the highest grade of bristle that we can. We've got steel spine in here so that we can use the super high grade bristles. The melting point is like 230 degrees, so that's like 300 degrees Fahrenheit. The working temperature for the operation of it is 120 degrees, which is over maybe 230 Fahrenheit. So you can put hot water through and the bristles are not going to deform as a result of the hot water, and it won't absorb a lot of water. By having shorter bristles, they actually behave more rigid, right? So that's a really important thing, is that when we only have one row of bristles doing the bristle type work, which is really scratching the dirt off the glass, while the white non-scratch pad is kind of like scraping. You know, the bristle function of the white non-scratch pad is parallel to the glass, whereas the bristle function from here, when it's on the surface, you can see it's pressed down. That's your operating. It's operating in this range here as you go up and down the glass. These bristles are out at what you want is that 30 to 45 degrees, you know, to the glass so that they are scratching the glass. And you can see total coverage, right? It's not like a stapled broom style brush where they basically every 5 millimeters or every quarter of an inch they drill a hole and, you know, pop some bristles in there with a staple. This is completely different technology.
So it's actually, the bristles are going outside the block there, I can see.
Yeah. So when you go into the corners, it's not as good in the corners, you know, seriously, as a radial, because we've got the short bristles, so they don't splay out as much, but they do splay. They will go into the corners. But if you had if you're in an area that's super duper, you know, spider webby, right, then you should have the high flow with the radial or the radial rocker, and you should have the longer bristles because they splay out more. Maybe I can show you that so you can actually appreciate the difference. So if you're hitting up against something here, you can see that the bristles are here. Can you see that, Martin?
Yes.
Whereas if we push this one down, the difference is like there. So it's like half an inch out, and this one is like an inch out, right, from the end cap. Put that there in case I want it again. So if you're doing, you know, it's not just for regular work because it's got way more agitation than just regular work. But if you were just doing regular work, the corners are not so critical. You're not in a super duper spiderwebby place, or it's not the spiderweb season. Then you can definitely clean the corners, you know, with a little scrubby action through the corners. And then in this case, we have two different kinds of flow jet of rinse bar. I think we should cover
the high
that.
flow and the low flow.
Correct. So high flow, if you're already a Reach It customer and you're already using high flow tube, then you should definitely order the high flow jets, unless you find that you have locations or maybe in early spring because you've got reverse osmosis, you've got less flow rate or anything like that. If you know you want a low flow rate brush, then by all means get the low flow. But if you just want it so that all of your fluid dynamics, your hydraulic system for the delivery of water from the spigot through the filter, through the hose, through the tube, up the pole to the brush, if you want that to be the same for this brush as it is for your radial or your, that's a radial, or your radial rocker, then you would choose the high flow. High flow is half gallon per minute or 2 liters per minute. Low flow is 1/3 of a gallon per minute or 1.5 liters per minute. Flow rate, right?
Also you can select the tube there, right?
You can actually buy it with both. There's an option in the store where you can say, I want high and low flow. It'll come fitted with low flow, and you'll have the high flow rinse bars in the pack, and you'll have to, unscrew the end cap. What is that? Is that a hex or a?
That is
or a screw.
That is a hex, I think.
Right. I wondered why there was a hex tool in here.
No, it must be for that. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So we
yes.
have.
Yes.
So
that's how we do it.
Yeah. So we give you the tool. The reason we do that is because we're in the metric system, in the way we design tools, but the people in North America are in imperial, so they probably may not have one of these. So we give you one. Try and think of everything.
Then we have the scrubbies. How do you?
Oh, so scrubbies are, so that the scrubbies are attached with a Velcro block. So let's have a look underneath. So these are Velcro backed, and you have a Velcro block on the inside. Yeah, always use the scrubbies. Don't go to putting this on the glass. I don't think that's a wise idea. Right. So the reason why we've gone with the white non-scratch pad and the Magic Eraser is they're both spongy. You can see how thick they are. Maybe that's 8 millimeters. So 8 millimeters is 5/16 of an inch, something like that. But they compress. Yeah. So the logic is then from a scientific point of view.
And just put them on. They attach immediately.
Yeah, they attach immediately. They don't come off. Yeah. One of the things which I feel, learning from the bronze brush through the window weapon to the radial rocker, is how critical it is to keep your agitation square on the glass. We know that from before with the bristles. You want to make sure that you use the angle adapter so your brush is square on the glass, and sometimes you've got to adjust it. If you go from 4 stories to 3 stories to 2 stories to ground, you're going to be adjusting this to make sure that the brush is always square on the glass, so you've got the right angles of the bristles against the glass, and they're always on the glass. Otherwise, they'll be off the glass. But the reason we felt this is very, very cool is that because this pad is soft, it flexes like a rocker. And the Magic Eraser is the same. It's
it's not
foamy,
a block.
rubbery.
It's not a block.
It's not a hard block. So you're not going to be, if you go through a range of motion from the top of the window to the bottom of the window, it's about a 20 degree range of motion. So you want to make sure that whatever is your agitation pad, it's no use sticking, I know some of the other guys take their plastic brush block that they would normally drill holes and staple bristles into, and then they put a Velcro on it, and then they put white non-scratch pad and say that's the same as a radial rocker. No, it's not. It's nothing like a radial rocker, because when you go through that range of motion, it's not going to adjust, to that range of motion. You're going to have, at one point you might have just the top edge of it on, and the other end you might have the bottom edge of it on, and so it just doesn't work the same. And our job is to give you, as manufacturers, is to give you professional tools, right? You've got to have tools that are faster. Anything can clean windows. Newspaper and spirits, right? Boar's hair, brooms, and hose. Anything can clean a window. It's not that we can clean a window that makes us amazing as window cleaners. It's how fast we can clean windows, because that's where the money is.
Faster, more efficient, and better for the body, right? Less stress on the body. Oh, faster, better, safer.
Yeah,
Got
there you
it.
go.
Got it.
So that's part of the science behind why we made radial ultralight, and you can see also the same as for the 18-inch. The other benefit of the 18-inch, by the way, is that some of you may not know, but with a reach it pole with max reach gooseneck, you can actually go up to 12 feet horizontally. So you can reach right over a canopy, right over any structure, and reach a window on the other side of it. When we had radial, that was putting a little bit of a load on the end of the pole with that kind of torque. But then we had light, so a lot of the guys used light. And now we have ultralight. We've got guys who are masters of this. They'll either use the number 1 section, or they'll use the +A for tactical. You can go into max reach with a +A for tactical. That'll give you 8 feet, and then you'll get another 4.5 feet from the top section of a tactical.
I even see people clean horizontal with it because it's so light. Actually.
Yes, they can. All that core load. The weight of a product. If I put a product here and I go to lift it, it's much easier to lift it here than if it was out here. Is that still on screen?
Yeah.
Right? That makes it much heavier. So the more weight that you have on the end of the pole, the more core you've got to use for your body. But that doesn't mean that light is always better. I just want to make that point, because I don't believe that light is always better.
It depends on the
reason why
the job.
Yeah, the reason why light is better in the industry is because most of the industry, certainly, if you go back over the years, most poles sold in the industry are sold on price. When you sell on price, you have to make them cheaper. When you want to make them cheaper, you've got to add fiberglass, and fiberglass is cheaper, but fiberglass is not as rigid, so you get a floppy pole. If you don't want the floppy pole to feel so floppy, you have to put something light on the end of it. Then it doesn't feel as floppy, right? It still doesn't have precision and accuracy, but it doesn't feel as floppy. Otherwise, people will go, I can't control it, because they really would not be able to control it. So I feel that the direction of the industry towards lightweight is not because you've got a 200-pound, 100-kilo, man scrubbing with a brush, that weighs what that weighs. It's really about the pole. However, there are definitely benefits where you go light, and this is one of those benefits. When you go up and across, and you're going across 12 feet, you want to put a brush on there, and you want to be able to control it. That's 100% this. And I also had a phone call maybe only 3 or 4 days ago with some lads in Canada, and they were talking about the 14-inch ultralight, and they've had it up, 5 and 6 stories, and they said, oh my God, like when the 18-inch comes out, that's going to be amazing because that'll give the lateral stability when you're working high, but a crazy light.
That's coming out in April 2022.
Yeah, it's not very far away. I know it's fully in production. Everything's paid for, so it's definitely on its way.
And this is also included in the Elite pack?
This brush here is...
The 14 inch is included.
14 inch, yeah. So 14 inch is like your 10-inch, 12-inch squeegee, basically. That's its, if you had to give you a parallel in squeegee land, and then this, like as 18, 20-inch is the same kind of reason why you would use one over the other, yeah? Some people would maybe challenge whether there's enough bristles for this, but actually it's incredibly high level of agitation. Part of that is delivered because we've shortened the bristles, and when you shorten something that's tubular, it becomes more rigid in its behavior, right? The material itself is not more rigid, but the behavior of the material becomes more rigid. So, so you get that experience there. And when would you use it? The other thing is we price this much lower than the radial, for example, and part of the reason is we've got a lower material cost, but the other part of the reason is, and we may increase the price of it over time actually, but we might leave the light as a low-cost brush, but is to help people who have never used a Reach It product to be able to get involved with a radial brush, understand that Reach It is scientifically designed. It's all scientifically designed. That's all I got to say.
And
it's
also
just,
the
like I think about all of this, like you can hear me talking about it. I do that, like everything about our products are like that. And it's not as if there aren't things that we still can learn. And it's not as if every window cleaner in the world cleans windows the same way, has the same behavior. Like one of those things you see guys go bash, bash, bash across the top of the frame, and we haven't designed for that. We have the radial technique, and you use that with this brush as well.
You can find that technique in the Radial Ultralight in the web store if you want to see the technique, or you can check it on YouTube. Just search the Radial technique.
In youtube.com/future of cleaning, yeah?
Click or subscribe if you want to be notified.
Yeah, and then also while you're there, if you go to the playlist called Reach It Workshop, you'll see an amazing amount of knowledge transferred in short videos, because question by question by question, as people ask them, we do what this is as a Q&A. People say, can you do some unboxing? So we want to make sure, even though these ones are much longer, we want to make sure that anybody who wants to understand the brush and the science behind the brush, why would I buy the brush? How do I use the brush? It's all in these videos, right? So I think that's pretty much it. If you have any questions about Radial Ultralight, please buzz me in the comments below. And soon, once these have been prototype tested, the little French pain brushes, this is maybe around 7 inches, but the white non-scratch pad is 6 inches. So usually a French pane frame would go up across, it's like a truncated pyramidic triangle. That's the word for it. Truncated pyramided triangle, something like that. So I think they are 6 inches wide at the top and 5 3/4 inches wide at the bottom. So what we're testing now is that this will collapse into this in that V shape and make sure that the whole scrub is on the glass. But you can imagine if you're going up and down inside a 6-inch French pane, you actually get that agitation. So if you have BPOO, it'll come off with Magic Eraser. If you have artillery fungus, maybe there's more agitations because you don't have stainless steel or anything like that to get it off, but definitely you've got a more aggressive scrub. And make sure that you change the scrub if you're going to take something really, really that's stuck on the glass. But the other one is oxidation. This way you get to have a go at the oxidation on the glass if you've got, the paint or the vinyl is oxidizing. There's lots of applications, I think, for that. And you get 10 scrubbies. When you go to the store, they're called scrubbies, not scrubs. The big brushes have scrubs, and these are scrubbies. So you get a decent load of scrubbies to start with. Yeah, I think that's it. We did good.
Very nice.
Okay, see you in the next one.